Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk, guys. Welcome back and thanks for tuning in to this episode of World of Tanks. And it is moi doing more 100 Battle Challenge. I'm almost done with the AT7, Tier 7 British TD. And it's slow. I'm doing 19. Maybe I'm topping 20 and then it gets too scary, so I have to back off the throttle. I'm not going to show you an amazing game. I'm going to show you a pretty average game, which interestingly turns out to be pretty good for my Tier 7 TDs. I've got about 1,700 DPG in this. Most of my other Tier 7 TDs are around 12 to 1,300 DPG. Got about a 56% win rate. I have other TDs with much better win rates and lower DPG with equivalent numbers of battles. Why? Well, what we're going to talk about here, because I'm not going to give you some great insight into the game here. Maybe, a little bit. Average game. What I am going to talk about is how tanks like this don't really work for World of Tanks. They do for a role. The sit in the same general area. Just as I've been talking about, look, I have not stopped driving. When the counter went to 0, I started. I went go. Look where other tanks are. The KV-2 is not a particularly fast tank, is it? Look how far they got. The T-29 is not a particularly fast tank. Look how far it got. The tank is interesting in the right spot, but it really struggles in World of Tanks based on the way the game has developed and been played by the players. This is one of the classic examples right here. It's the reason why it's not considered a great tank. As far as a DPM machine dropping, let's see what we got here. 230 damage, which is reasonable at tier, especially for how fast that it fires. Pretty decent DPM. Okay penetration, it's 190 or so. Even better, 226 at tier 7 is very nice. Goes all the way up to 258. That's not a great boost for the gold, but it's a little bit more. The problem is that it is a go to a flank and die kind of tank. Now, I am a bit isolated. It would be nice to have at least one more friend, but the Cromwell B comes to me, and I figure if I can keep these guys out in front of me, we'll be good. So I shoot him. We get him tracked. So I just get a critical. I don't track him. Then I go too far forward, and I just get the track. You can see how the track is laid down now, so you can tell he's tracked. Cromwell goes in front. Put another in there. So I'm trying to keep him tracked, and he fixes it. I don't know why he's just sitting there, but he's giving me hit points. This illustrates the kind of gameplay style, even though this guy's a muppet. It's nice to get the shots on this guy. That sitting in a place where you can continue to blast shots down range is this thing's kind of gameplay style. It doesn't want to turn a lot either. The azimuth, although the Tier 8 azimuths and the rest are pretty good, this one's pretty limited as far as its field of regard for the gun, the ability of it to move within the casemate. So if it can look straight down an alleyway and shoot, that's a good thing. So I take him out, and now I'm thinking, well, maybe me and this Cromwell can get this other Cromwell B. Here's a critical mistake on my part. I did not pay attention to the platoons. Now, I don't know if they were a dynamic platoon, but there are 2 Cromwells platooned. There's also a 43 BIS. Unsure where he is. So I decide, well, let's go ahead and take this thing's armor, which is okay at tier, not great, but okay. And we'll push on in here and see if we can't get some damage done to these Crommies in here. So take a look, see what we got. There we go. That was a bummer. I needed that shot, and we're going to find that out later. He goes downhill. Then I find this oh, there he is. So the P-43 BIS is there. Got my gunner. That's a bit of a bummer. We'll fix that. He's trying to get away. Don't quite kill him, but that's good. That's why I have a friend. The other Cromwell B, and all of a sudden this dude's behind me. Another one of the weaknesses of this tank. We've got 2 Cromwell Bs swarming us. One I can't see, and the other one who's right behind me. They get my gunner again, which blows my mind. This dude allows me to get around on him. We have to turn and take him on. See how slow this thing is. This maneuvering fight in this game is very difficult with this thing. We're just going to chase him down, although we're taking all kinds of hits from the guy behind us. Thank goodness the Cromwells don't hit very hard. Going to take a while to get my gun on him. His buddy is raging in to take me out. I get my gun just in time. I'm trying to get away from him, to get turned around. I'm just not going to make it. And he pushes down and kills me. And in that time frame, I get 1,725 damage, 648 assists, and a kill. You can see that we did a decent job over here holding on to these guys. We took on 4 with 2. We got 3 of them and mauled the other one. And then the North push absolutely dominated over there. So we had an undermatch over here and an overmatch up north, and the team is able to leverage that. But that's pretty much it with this tank. That's pretty much it. And I thought that this video or this replay illustrated it pretty well. The play style of the tank is to go somewhere and kind of try to lock it down. And you don't want to go too far initially. You need to get your gun in the game. So I was a bit torn there. Do I sit further back by the cap and wait for them to come to me and maybe the game's over? Or do I take a bit of a chance, get a little bit forward, and try to lock down a section with this thing's gun and armor? Although you can see with the APCR that was being spammed at me, the armor didn't really hold up, even against bloody tier 7 mediums. They seem to be able to, once I turned around in my back, that's going to go through. They seem to be able to snipe that big hatch on top pretty easily from the front. From what I could see, I took multiple hits through that thing right there. So you're going to go to a flank. You're going to win or lose the flank. You're probably going to die in position. That's not to say, and I always do say, even in a slow tank, you can move around. As less guns are on the field later on in the game, there are opportunities then to kind of move around, and even a slow tank can go back. But when you're driving one like this one that's so slow, you have to pre-plan that a lot. And that's a bridge too far for a lot of players. So it tends to be a tank that just goes somewhere, fights a flank, and dies or wins. And maybe trundles forward to the cap, and sometimes gets to the cap, and sometimes it doesn't, because it's hurt when it gets to the cap and there's 100% guys sitting at the cap. It just doesn't have flexibility for the way this game is played. As long as you go into that understanding it and go, well, I like that play style, I want to sit back and do that, then that's fine. But it's probably going to limit its carry ability, which gets me back to what I talked about at the beginning that interested me as I started to think about this, the way the game is played and such, is with that DPM or DPG that I have, I looked at that one, that's more like a 60% win rate for me. If I'm that far ahead in DPG amongst other tanks that I do have higher win rates in, and I got to thinking, well, why is that? And it is very obviously its flexibility. So when you get to mid and late games, the ability to move around the map in World of Tanks becomes very important, and this thing just can't do it. Slow tanks like it just can't do it. You lose the initiative. You are then trying to counter what people are doing to you, vice doing something to them. You're sitting in a bush or hanging out in an alley or looking down a canalized area of the map, whatever it is you're doing. You have to be very careful about not getting circled or swarmed like I did there. Once I got a couple mediums in front of me, one behind me, I was in huge trouble. My shield, my maneuverable buddy died. They took him out first, which was a smart move. And at that point, it was pretty much over. So I thought I'd throw that out there. That was kind of not that was any kind of big revelation to you guys, but I thought it really illustrated that quite good as far as how this game is played, especially mid to late tier, and why good players value mobility over armor. All right, that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I do appreciate it, and we will see ya.